I don't remember how old I was, but my dad had a summer off. He wasn't working. He was married to the Italian.
Greta Garbo was not just an actress. She was a phenomenon. To millions, she embodied mystery, beauty, and elegance. Her face, often described as sculpted by light itself, defined an era of cinema when Hollywood was rising into its golden age. Yet, behind the silver screen shimmer lay a woman plagued by solitude, heartbreak, and an unshakable desire to disappear from the very spotlight that made her immortal. Garbo's life raises a haunting question. How can someone adored by millions, crowned as one of the greatest stars of all time, feel so unfulfilled, so detached, and so tragically alone? This is not simply the story of fame. It is the story of a woman who gave her art to the world, but kept her soul for herself. A reminder that behind every legend lies a human longing for peace.
Early life and family background. Early life and family background. Greta Lavisa Gustafsson was born on September 18, 1905, in Stockholm, Sweden, into a working-class family that knew more of struggle than comfort. Her father, Carl Alfred, worked odd jobs and battled ill health, while her mother, Anna Lavisa, labored as a laundress. The family's financial hardships imprinted young Greta with a sense of fragility and responsibility that never left her. Childhood was marked by both the joy of simple play and the grief of watching her father slowly deteriorate from illness, leaving the family burdened with sorrow. As a shy child, Greta often found escape in daydreams and in the small, flickering world of silent cinema. The loss of her father when she was just a teenager etched into her heart a lifelong pattern of grief and detachment. Out of hardship, however, bloomed an early resilience, and from her loneliness emerged the first sparks of the self-contained mystery that would later define her screen presence.
First steps, struggles. After leaving school early, Garbo found work in a barber shop and then in a department store where she modeled hats for advertisements. It was during these small modeling jobs that her striking beauty was noticed, and soon she was recruited for short promotional films. But the path to recognition was not smooth. She lacked connections, money, and the polished confidence of someone destined for stardom. Yet she carried with her an unyielding sense of determination. Her early struggles were compounded by her innate shyness and difficulty with authority, traits that made others dismiss her as aloof or even cold. Still, Greta persevered, enrolling at the Royal Dramatic Theatre's acting school in Stockholm, where her raw talent and magnetic presence began to bloom. In those fragile beginnings lay the seeds of a paradox, a woman destined to be adored by millions, yet who craved nothing more than to escape notice.
Greta Garbo's legacy is one of paradox. She remains one of the greatest film actresses of all time, her performances studied and celebrated decades after her retirement. Yet, she is equally remembered for her refusal to play by the rules of fame. Her famous line, "I want to be alone," became not just a cinematic quote, but a philosophy of life. To this day, Garbo represents independence, mystery, and the courage to live life on one's own terms. She symbolizes both the power and the burden of beauty, the intoxicating allure of stardom, and the high price of protecting one's soul in a world that demands exposure. In her absence, she became eternal, an icon untouched by decline or overexposure. Garbo remains not just a star of the silver screen, but a myth, an enigma who taught the world that sometimes silence speaks louder than words.
Peak career and achievements. The late 1920s and 1930s belonged to Greta Garbo. She became the face of silent cinema, and then, with the advent of sound, proved critics wrong by conquering talkies with her deep, husky voice. Films like Anna Christie, Mata Hari, Grand Hotel, and Camille cemented her as one of Hollywood's greatest talents. Audiences across the globe were captivated by her magnetic stillness, her ability to command a scene with the subtlest glance or gesture. She received multiple Academy Award nominations and was regarded as the very embodiment of screen artistry. Yet beneath the glory, Garbo grew weary. Fame brought with it an invasion of privacy, endless publicity campaigns, and demands she detested. As her career soared, her happiness dwindled. She earned wealth, acclaim, and a place in history, but her inner world grew darker, more fragile. A paradox of brilliance wrapped in loneliness.
Personal life and challenges. Behind the spotlight, Greta Garbo faced a series of heartbreaks and struggles that shaped her reputation as the lonely goddess of Hollywood. Her romance with John Gilbert, one of the era's leading men, burned brightly, but collapsed under the pressures of fame, personal conflict, and Garbo's own fear of commitment. She was rumored to have had relationships with both men and women, but she never married, never settled, and often retreated from emotional intimacy. Garbo longed for companionship, yet her guarded heart made it difficult to let anyone fully in. Beyond relationships, she battled anxiety and depression, made worse by the constant scrutiny of the press. She shunned interviews, avoided public appearances, and resisted Hollywood's relentless publicity machine. Fame had given her the world, but it also robbed her of peace. For Garbo, privacy was not a luxury, it was survival.
Later years. Decline. In 1941, at the age of just 36, Greta Garbo walked away from Hollywood forever. After Two-Faced Woman failed at the box office, she decided she was done with studios, with roles, with the world's gaze. Her retreat shocked fans, but to Garbo, it was liberation. She spent the next 5 decades in near total seclusion, living primarily in New York City, wandering its streets anonymously, and occasionally traveling through Europe. Offers to return to film came often, but she declined every one. In her later years, she lived quietly, collecting art, tending to her solitude, and occasionally seeing close friends. Yet beneath the calm, there was a lingering sadness. The once great star lived a life of deliberate invisibility, her legend growing even as her presence vanished. When she died in 1990, at the age of 84, it was as though a ghost had finally left the stage.
Closing statement. Greta Garbo's story is not just one of success and fame. It is a meditation on solitude, strength, and the fragile human heart behind the legend. She dazzled the world with her beauty, broke barriers with her artistry, and then chose to walk away, leaving behind an air of mystery that has never been solved. Her life asks us to consider what we value more, the glory of being seen or the peace of being free. Garbo reminds us that even legends are human, haunted by loneliness, longing, and the need to belong. At 84, she passed quietly as she lived, but her presence endures, a shimmering reminder that sometimes the most unforgettable figures are those who slip silently into the shadows, leaving behind not answers, but timeless questions.
Everything changed in 1924 when Greta Garbo caught the attention of director Moritz Stiller, who recognized in her a rare gift. He took her under his wing, coached her, and cast her in The Saga of Gusta Berling. Her performance was magnetic, and soon she was noticed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, who invited her to Hollywood. Arriving in America in 1925, Greta was transformed from an unknown Swedish actress into one of MGM's brightest stars. Within a year, she was starring alongside John Gilbert, igniting one of the era's most talked about on-screen and off-screen romances. Her luminous presence on screen was undeniable. Her expressive face carried emotion that transcended language. But even as the world embraced her, Garbo remained hesitant, fearful of the fame that was tightening around her. The breakthrough